Hey everybody, HomeSliceHenry here, and in today's video, I'm going to be showcasing a buffed Pokemon that I unexpectedly had great results with, going 9-1 in the Ultra League to climb over 2400 ELO, and that is Bellibolt. Bellibolt is a tremendously bulky Pokemon, it has a top 100 stat product, but the catch is that it only has electric type moves. Thundershock, which now does extra damage, Parabolic Charge, which has a 2/3 chance to buff your defense, and Zap Cannon. I paired it up with a Malamar Save Switch and a Virizion Closer, and the team worked way better than I ever expected. So without further ado, let's hop into the matches and take a look at Bellibolt in action in the Open Ultra League. Hopping into the first match, leading Bellibolt versus Cresselia. They get to a move before I get the Zap Cannon, so I may as well just fire off the Parabolic Charge and fish for that 2/3 chance at a defense boost, and I do get it. Now, boosting your defense on a Pokemon that already has the stats of Bellibolt means that this thing can now take hit after hit after hit. And now, I'm more than happy to overfarm, make it to a Zap Cannon. Zap Cannon is going to connect, and that is monster damage onto Cresselia. Cresselia does have quite a bit of energy, firing off Moonblast number 2, but due to my buff defense, it looks like a third Moonblast won't even KO either. So they can go for the Moonblast. I'm going to survive it, and I'm going to get to double up on Parabolic Charges here, meaning if my opponent wants to shield, they're going to have to shield twice. They're going to let it go. They send in a ground type. It's Swampert. I pivot into the Malamar, saving the Parabolic Charge for later. Now, Malamar will immediately be met with a Hydro Cannon. That is very okay. I'm going to tank that. It's a Registeel in the back, and this is just game over. I am going to go for the foul play first and then fire off the Superpower. Either way, regardless of what charge moves I throw in this moment, this game is just a complete win because Cresselia was my opponent's only counter to Virizion, and now that it's gone, Virizion will very comfortably sweep. I do win the cap tie there over the Registeel, and now I can send in Virizion. With Virizion, I can farm up quite a bit and fire off the Sacred Sword, but realistically, once my opponent sees that I have Leaf Blade, there is no way for them to win this game. I will commit the shield because Focus Blast, of course, will do a lot more than a Hydro Cannon or an Earthquake. In comes the Swampert, and I get to fire off the Leaf Blade. Leaf Blade into the Swampert is going to be shielded. Upon seeing the Leaf Blade, the opponent will concede the match. Moving to the next match, Bellibolt versus Steelix. This is a terrible lead. I'm actually going to stay in with the Bellibolts, though, to start with, because I want my opponent to waste some energy going for a Psychic Fangs, and I want to bank a bunch of energy on the Bellibolt before I switch out. Because, of course, Bellibolt, everything I throw is going to be double resisted there, so it's not a great spot to be. Here, my opponent tries to get fancy. They try and go for a Superpower catch onto the Shadow Galarian Weezing, but in doing so, they have made a grave error. My Malamar has a massive energy advantage, and I intend to put it to good use. I'm able to land the first foul play. I play to the CMP tie on foul play number 2, and I will go for an undercharge in case they do decide to no shield here. So the undercharge is going to be shielded by my opponent. I get to another foul play, and if my opponent's not careful, Malamar's going to flip switch here. They're going to shield, try for the farm down, but they cannot get there. XL Malamar, such a beast, and by flipping switch, odds are it's probably just going to be a win. Opponent realizes that, and they will concede the match. Bellibolt versus Pangoro in the next match. Pangoro, honestly a Pokemon that this team has some pretty decent play into. Pangoro basically always has a Tentacruel in the back, so I'm always going to let the first one go, because if they close combat, they probably aren't going to feel comfortable switching out, just due to the fact that they're probably weak to electric back there. So I was more than happy to try and call a Night Slash. The fact that they close combated just makes their life a lot more difficult, because it's very uncomfortable to try and switch out. I am going to farm up here. The first Parabolic I did accidentally CMP tie. I'm not going to make the mistake on the second. My opponent is farming up a ton, but they're not going to be able to make another Night Slash. I just have to watch for a catch here. There's the catch attempt onto Dragalge. What spice from the opponent. Dragalge did get access to Focus Blast this season, but there's no way people are actually running Focus Blast. Focus Blast, unfortunately, I really want Dragalge to get a viable move for it to hit back against Steels, but Focus Blast is so expensive, and they are running Outrage. Malamar is going to get the Psy Wave farm down. Let's go, Malamar in the back. There's the Tentacruel that we were expecting. Tentacruel going to be hit with the foul play. I send in Virizion. Opponent is going to aggressively switch in Pangoro, and this game is just completely won. Pangoro lands the close combat, but that debuffs their defense, and I just get a full farm down, and Virizion has enough energy that I can very comfortably put them into Parabolic Charge range. I'll be honest, I just built this Bellibolt, so I'm not super familiar with exactly how much damage it does to Tentacruel, so out of an abundance of caution, I end up landing the second Leaf Blade as well, before I do get the combo play. Parabolic definitely going to be overkill at this health range, but the good news is, we're able to fight back and take the win. Bellibolt into Galarian Weezing. Now, this is another matchup where I'm just going to be going straight for the Parabolic Charge. It's a 2/3 chance at a defense boost, and this is already a very bulky Pokemon. So if you're able to get that boost in these type neutral matchups, it basically flips most every type neutral matchup into a positive matchup for Bellibolt. They're going to go for an overheated, look at that, Bellibolt just tanks it. They can go for another one. I mean, their attack's already debuffed by 2 stages. My defense is buffed by a stage. They switch out into Feraligatr. I don't think you wanted to do that, trainer. Parabolic Charge is going to be shielded. I get another Parabolic Charge as well. And then I can just bring in Virizion and click no shield. Even if they Ice Beam, it does not KO a Virizion from full HP. And I'm banking on the fact that 2-shield Malamar basically can't lose. In the Open Great League, there are a couple rogue bug types that could actually cause Malamar to lose in a 2-0 shield advantage, but they don't really exist in the Ultra League, so Malamar up shields is basically just going to be a free win at this point. I get to fire off the Leaf Blade. Switch Clock not yet up, so they will get to farm me down. I'm going to throw 2 Psy Waves, switch into the Bellibolt, and upon seeing the 2-0 shield Malamar, we will see the opponent resign the match, and I believe this is the 5-0 set. We move to the next match, going up against fellow content creator Keldeo, and what a terrible lead. Bellibolt into Virizion. I throw 1 Thunder Shock and save switch into the Malamar. Opponent stays in to throw energy, and this is quite nice for me. I'm very happy to tank moves on the Malamar. In comes Shadow Typhlosion, and this game, if I remember correctly, is all about the power of Malamar on the save switch. XL Malamar, if you don't have one, or if you have the XLs and haven't invested yet, it is unbelievably good. Typhlosion is going to go for the Thunder Punch. Typhlosion is all about insane fast move pressure, but guess what? Malamar is going to flip switch here, because this next Incinerate does not KO. I do end up stuttering quite a bit there, which is unfortunate, but I will be able to make the superpower. My opponent makes a great play, knowing they would lose switch. They end up saving the Typhlosion and sniping with the Virizion, denying my ability to get that superpower. So that's a pretty nice play by my opponent, but the fact is, to do that, they had to give up switch. So the Malamar save switch still did its job. Sacred Sword after Sacred Sword being launched by these 2 Virizion. I need to make sure that I am within at least 1 double kick of the next Sacred Sword, so that way if they bring in the Typhlosion, I can knock them out without having to take an Incinerate. Are they going to send back in the Typhlosion here? They're thinking about it. No, they send in Steelix. There's a switch into Typhlosion, but I'm able to fire off this Sacred Sword. That will KO Typhlosion. Steelix doesn't have the residual energy needed to make a move. I get to land some very impactful damage, and now I have to send Bellibolt into a ground type, and this is a tough spot to be in. The opponent, of course, has very little fast move pressure here with the resisted Thunder Fangs, but they're able to debuff me with Psychic Fangs. I'm going to go for the Parabolic Charge. They just debuffed my defense. I'm going to raise my defense right back up. Let's go, Bellibolt. They fire off another Psychic Fangs, and I'm just going to overfarm and wait for them to throw. The typical understanding is that after 4 charge moves are thrown, you'll be able to switch out. This is their 3rd Psychic Fangs, and I threw once, so now I'm able to switch into the Virizion, and Virizion is going to get there. Looks to be on a CMP tie against the Steelix. Sacred Sword KOs, and despite leading a Bellibolt into a Virizion Steelix core, we're able to get the win. Bellibolt into Shadow Drapion in the next match. Shadow Drapion, a Pokemon that the backline doesn't like to see. So I'm very happy to catch this on the lead. They are going to strike first, going for the Shadow Crunch. This will do a solid amount of damage, but look at Bellibolt, not even in the yellow after taking that damage. I now get to return fire with the Parabolic Charge. Parabolic Charge bait is going to get the shield, but this time I do get a bit of bad luck. I don't get the defense boost. They are going to go for the Crunch. I'm going to fire off the Parabolic Charge. Opponent makes a catch onto Gastrodon, but save switching Gastrodon is one of the worst plays that you can make. Gastrodon is such an alignment dependent Pokemon. If it sees any flyer or any grass, it's just completely lost, and now I can use this to my advantage. I'm more than happy to massively overfarm here and take body slams because I just want to get up to 100 energy, because this energy will actually be very threatening against the Drapion. I go for an undercharge, but that's still KO, so I guess I should have hit fewer bubbles than what I did. In comes the Drapion, but Drapion's already down a shield, and I am already at back-to-back Sacred Swords, and that plus the double kick will just knock them out, so the opponent now in a very difficult position. If they shield, which they do, they're going to be weak to the Virizion in the back, and considering Drapion Double Water is a decently common team, I wouldn't be surprised to see Feraligatr. I will get to pick up the knockout with the Sacred Sword. All right, show me that Gator, and there it is. It's Feraligatr in the back. Feraligatr not going to get the farm down. Virizion makes the Leaf Blade. That will do massive damage. Quick switch into the Malamar. Malamar honestly wasn't even really needed in that game, and we're able to take the win. Bellibolt versus Licky in the next match. Lickys will almost always run Earthquake in the Ultra League, so what I'm going to do is farm up 7, switch into Malamar, sneak a Psywave, and hopefully catch the Earthquake, and I do get the catch of the Earthquake. That is very, very nice. Farming up a ton with the Malamar. Opponent now going to send in Golisopod, and with the amount of energy advantage that I have, I'm going to try and make a play to flip switch here. Because, of course, Licky, very, very strong if it can land an Earthquake into the Bellibolt, but going up against Virizion, I would have a huge advantage. So I'm more than happy to shield up the first, and I have farmed up so much energy with the Malamar. Malamar, foul play, KOs, they give up switch advantage, and now I should be in a pretty nice spot. Licky re-enters the field of play only to be met with a superpower. They commit the shield, and at this point, getting that shield back is probably just instantly game winning for me, because I do have a ton of energy loaded on the Bellibolt, and Virizion does a great job at shutting down that Licky. In the back is Annihilate. I build up to the Zap Cannon, bait with the Parabolic Charge, and I get the defense boost. Again, it's a 2/3 chance, and now this Annihilate is going to have a terrible time farming down the Bellibolt. Opponent sees the writing on the wall and concedes the match. We move to the next match, leading Bellibolt into another Steelix. This is going to be a tough game, but we were able to play our way out of some Steelix leads earlier. Again, I'm just going to stay in with the Bellibolt, force them to throw energy as they fire off the Psychic Fangs, and then look to pivot out into the Malamar. So I get to save 7 Thundershocks energy advantage for later, and now Malamar hits the field of play, and I'm going for a foul play bait. I want to desync the timers if at all possible. Opponent gives up an early shield, and that was honestly a pretty big surprise for me. Steelix staying in to throw. They go for a Breaking Swipe. Breaking Swipe does not get a debuff, so a bit of good luck does go my way. They're firing off more energy here. Breaking Swipe number 2. There is that attack drop. That is a bit unfortunate, as now these superpowers are not going to be nearly as threatening. Superpower is going to land. I'm firing off yet another superpower, but this is now -2 attack. Steelix able to tank that pretty comfortably. In comes Virizion, and this will force me to send in my own. Honestly, I think staying in for the little bit with the Malamar to get some farm was a misplay because I was debuffed on defense. So I wasn't able to bank a move, and I think I might be too low to make a move later. And this is still going to be a pretty tough game to play my way out of, considering they were able to preserve that Steelix, and so far Bellibolt has not had any targets. I'm farming up quite a bit, firing off the superpower at this Virizion that looks to be a CMP tie, and it is. I have 2 shields, but I don't know where to use them. I decide to commit a shield here. In the back is Annihilate, and I am going to be immediately firing off the Leaf Blade, and then now is the time for Bellibolt to shine. I have to make a call here. Do I bait or do I nuke? This time, I decide to go for the nuke, going for the Zap Cannon. They respect it, and I think that just lost me the game. If I successfully baited with Parabolic Charge, I could have made the Zap Cannon here, KO'd them, and still had a shield. But unfortunately, I'm only able to make a Parabolic Charge. Because I went for the Zap Cannon first, Parabolic Charge does not KO. They're going to make another Rage Fist. They are heavily boosted here. I can't even get a farm down, and my Virizion, it's just too low. They have too much health available. Their Virizion, I believe, and their Steelix are both still in the upper red health, so this is just not a game that I can win. Realistically, the fact that a game where I led Bellibolt into a Steelix Virizion core still came down to a 50-50 call of whether to bait or nuke, I feel shows that the team can put in quite a bit of work, but unfortunately, not gonna get the win in that one. Great lead in the next match. Bellibolt into Tentacruel. Opponent is going to save switch into Giratina, and I get to respond with Malamar. Keeping switch advantage here very important. I cannot afford to have the Tentacruel on my Virizion. Now my team, as you may notice, is very ABA weak to Giratina. Honestly, Giratina not seen a lot in the Open Ultra League at higher elo, so I'm more okay playing ABA weak to it. They're going to go for the Dragon Claw. I will commit the shield. If I let that move go, they could have potentially double shielded and farmed me all the way down, and I really cannot let that happen. They're firing off another move, and I think I have to make a play here. I have to commit to the Psywave farm down. Come on, Malamar. Malamar just gets the farm down there, denying Giratina the ability to flip switch advantage, and now I should be looking in a pretty decent position. I'm going to make back-to-back foul plays. The opponent, they know there's an electric type waiting for them, so they're not going to be shielding anything on the Tentacruel. And now I get to bring back in the Bellibolt in the back. Oh my goodness, they were core broken by the Bellibolt. They have a Shadow Poliwrath. I'm firing off Parabolic Charge, getting the shield and the defense boost, but realistically, I just need to throw away Virizion. So even though I'm boosted, I switch out because I just need Virizion to basically be a damage sponge to energy from the Poliwrath. I get to fire off the Leaf Blade. It's debuffed by the Icy Wind, but still inflicts some serious damage. Opponent will have to throw energy, because otherwise I would make another Leaf Blade, and from here, I should just be able to sweep with the Bellibolt. They're forced to switch out. Bellibolt, thanks to the residual energy I saved from earlier, is going to make the Parabolic Charge. Parabolic Charge picks up the KO. No defense boost this time, but it's not going to matter, as we do get the farm down. Overall, I think this is one of the spicier teams that you can run in the Open Ultra League. It does take a bit of finesse, especially to play around like the Virizion Steelix cores, but I did have some very good results with it. As I mentioned, went 9-1 overall, making it to 24-19 elo, which at the time of recording, if leaderboards did drop, should be within the global top 500, just judging by how long the queue times have been since I did claim that final set. So overall, I do think Bellibolt is now very, very viable anti-meta. I don't think it's meta quite yet. The only thing, in my view, that holds it back is the lack of coverage. But overall, it's terrific in neutral situations. Electric is a really good offensive typing into a lot of the meta currently. Ground types like Gastrodon, Steelix, Zygarde would all give it tremendous trouble. But outside of that, its dominance in neutral matchups, especially when it's able to get that first 2/3 chance at a defense boost, I think really makes it a very viable choice. Again, it's not going to be a top meta threat, but it's bordering that line. The only thing that holds it back from me calling it a meta threat is just the fact that it only has electric moves. But overall, honestly, I was not expecting much when I tried this Pokemon this morning, and I ended up being pleasantly surprised. Anyways, thank you guys so much for watching. If you're enjoying the content, make sure to leave a like and subscribe to the channel if you haven't. And a special thank you as always to our members here on YouTube. The support you guys provide is sincerely appreciated. So thank you guys oh so very much. And until next time, I've been HomeSliceHenry.